Hard. Here are your hosts, Ethan and Jason.
Now this is podcasting.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. We're back. We are here for you.
Back in the saddle.
We're back in the saddle, baby.
Another week of working hard for you all, you workers, you.
Yep. I'm Ethan. Here with me today, as always, is Jason.
Jason.
Jason. He's French, which is gay. Being French is gay as hell. Dude, I watched first of all, everyone, welcome to Work Hard. This is episode, I think this will be 53, something like that.
Cool.
Growing.
Getting up there.
Growing. Our growth, we grew a lot, and then we hit that little hiccup where I got sick and hurt, and we did, our schedule declined a little bit, and so our growth has fallen off.
Did it?
Yeah, that's what happens online. If you stop posting,
man. Even for a week, it
goes down. So yeah, but we'll build back up, and I got this new highfalutin job. I'll buy some marketing stuff. We'll grow. Well, hopefully we'll grow pretty quickly. But yeah, guys, welcome to Work Hard. Happy to have you. Thank you for listening. I watched a movie. So you guys, I don't know if this is clear yet, but Jason and I record back to back. So we record 2 weeks at a time to give us free Saturdays. So I talked last week about me being in Salt Lake City for work. And this is still, for us, this is still this week. So we're still talking in the context of me still having been gone this week.
Coming off of that
So,
marathon.
oh yeah, what a brutal
beer and wings marathon.
I mean, it was a ton of fun. It was a ton of fun. It's a ton of fun to be able to drink and eat like really nice food and go to nice steakhouses and stuff on company dime. And so, but
it wreaks havoc on the digestive system,
yep,
though.
Sure
Rich
does.
food after
I have not taken
plane fare.
I have not taken a normal poop in 5 days. Yeah. I'll recover, dude. I'll be all right. My hands are a little shaky, but it is what it is. So while
you can't live like an emperor for a week and not expect some fallout.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. While I was out of town, you're sitting in a hotel room at night, and I don't really watch movies. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't watch movies.
You don't?
No, not really.
I thought you did.
I watch old movies.
Oh, you mean, okay, you don't watch new movies.
Yeah, I don't watch new movies.
You don't keep up with what's coming out.
I just turn them off. I try, and then I'm like, this is so bad, and I just turn them off. But I'm kind of captive, It's really,
I don't think Emily and I have gone to the movies or seen a new release since we moved to Texas 3 years ago.
Yeah. We went, you know what? We went to Boys in the Boat. I took Emily to go see Boys in the Boat.
I heard that was fairly good.
Really good. I would say really good.
I'm trying to remember if my parents told me about that or if I heard about it on Stories or Soul Food.
Okay.
Stories or Soul Food talked about it.
Okay.
I think they said it was good. The book was better, though. So it could have, he analyzed it and talked about, Andy Wilson talked about how it could have been better and where they messed up, but he said overall, it was a good movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie. And I would say relative to the current age, it was a great movie.
Well, I mean, when you're grading on a curve, that was at the top of the curve.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways,
a breath of fresh air.
So I'm stuck in this hotel. It's late on a Wednesday night or whatever, and I'm just sitting there drinking water, trying to make sure I don't have a hangover the next day.
Uh-huh.
So I can't really go to sleep yet because I need to get a half gallon in me before I go down.
Right.
Got nothing to do, so I just fire up a movie. I watched Monkey Man. Have you seen the ads for that?
No.
It's Indian John Wick. It's very strange. So it's not like a Bollywood movie, right?
Okay.
But it's made in the U.S. It's like a U.S. movie. But it's set in India. It's about an Indian man. It's all Indian actors. It's like Indian.
Yeah.
And it was.
They have some interesting kind of cool flair. I don't know. The aesthetic is appealing in those movies. The dancing, the bright colors, the costumes.
Yes. Yeah. That is true.
Is this the one with the really stylized fighting, almost Jet Li slow motion flying through the air kind of stuff?
No.
There was one maybe a couple of years ago that I watched an honest trailer for something that was or a pitch meeting video about.
Yeah.
It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this actually looks pretty interesting. Or fascinating. Very different than the American flavor, which makes it interesting to watch sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and that old style of fight choreography is so sick. Anyways, the like insanely high jumping, and then like doing
kicking in air.
Yeah, that stuff's so cool. But no, this is not this. This movie came out like last month or something.
Okay.
And it's like supposed to be like Indian John Wick. It's about this kid who gets like orphaned, and then he goes after the people who orphaned him.
Classic.
Yep. And
classic vengeance story.
Yeah, very poorly told. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. And it was strange because it was Indian, but it was very like American in its like cultural take. So he like first the bad guy is Indian Donald Trump, which is very funny. Also the Indian accent
with golden hair,
yeah,
golden comb over,
yeah, fake tan,
which would make him almost black.
Yeah. First of all, the Indian accent is one of the silliest things of all time. So you can't be cool and have an Indian accent. It's just not possible. Sorry. And Indians also are generally lean. They're not like muscular. Like even if you go online and look up like Indian bodybuilder, it still looks strange.
Okay.
Like they just
the frame is not there.
Yeah, they look like skinny fat but still with muscles. It's very strange. It's a very odd.
You can't build it out, right?
Yeah, they really can't. And so it's weird. It looks strange. The Indian culture today, maybe at some point there was some warrior culture that existed in Indians, but it doesn't exist now. And so like trying to like imprint that over modern Indians is very strange. It looks strange. It doesn't seem right. The writing is really terrible. The movie was awful. And then the bad guy is Indian Donald Trump. And there's this, the values are very American values. And so the bad guy is like standing there at one point giving this, speech that's supposed to be like his evil emperor standing there speech, and the things that he's saying that are really evil are the crime rate is down, the housing market is becoming more like better,
right,
and people are making more money and more prosperous. Oh, and we're getting rid of immigrants.
Okay,
like those are his evil things.
Oh, those are evil.
Those are his evil things that are like the crime rate is down. Like there's less violent crime.
Okay.
That was it. And the music, like you're supposed to be sitting there going,
dun, dun, dun.
Fascism. Like, yeah, like, which is it's so revealing about the nature of these people's minds, because you say, we're going to reduce crime, and they think you're going to kick doors in, you're going to take children out of beds, you're going to do all this evil stuff and violate our rights and do it like, this will bleed into our topic for today. But back to the movie. Basically he goes on like a little bit of a hero's journey, right? He basically has this plan. He tries to enact it. He fails. He almost dies. And then he gets pulled out of the river by this androgynous old man who has boobs.
Ugh.
And they're in this temple, and they make a big deal about how the god in this temple is androgynous. He's both male and female, and that's the god they worship. And so just like all of a sudden, out of nowhere, halfway through the movie, there's just like trannies everywhere. Like they're in the city.
All the priests.
Yeah, they're in this like city, whatever. It's like totally, but it just looks like an Indian city. There's like, he lives in the slums, and then he goes out to the part that's nice or whatever. And then it just, all of a sudden he's just in the woods with these like transvestites, and
not a place you want to be.
Not a place you want to be. I can't imagine. And they do this scene where
if you find yourself somewhere like that, you took a wrong turn somewhere.
Yeah, you sure did. Dude. Yeah,
you went left when you should have gone right or something.
Time to backtrack.
Yeah.
Follow that. See, crumb of trails backwards. Crumb of trails. The trail of crumbs. podcasting.
Crumb of trails.
Yep. Anyways, dude, so they have this weird scene where he's like standing in front of a punching bag, like relearning how to fight.
Right.
And the tranny is like hitting this drum, and every time he hits the big drum, he's supposed to throw a right, and every time he hits the little drum, he's supposed to jab.
Okay.
And like that's the thing. And they're
teaching him to fight?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's the strangest thing. And so he's like, and he starts hitting the drum really fast and like playing music, and everyone's like, we're Indians, and he's like punching the bag to like.
If you turn on the subtitles, you'll see that.
Yeah,
somewhere
it literally says, we're Indians. Yeah.
The subtitles is like, I don't know, I'm Indian.
The subtitles just says strong smell. That's what that's what it says. So they're all being like ultra Indian and like hitting the drum or whatever, and at first he like is hitting to the beat of the drum, but then it like breaks down into this like music video just like in the middle of the movie.
Oh, isn't that typical Bollywood stuff? They have dance scenes and...
Oh, is that true? Is that what that is?
There's lots of dancing in Bollywood movies.
Yeah, I know that, but okay, so maybe that's what they're referencing then. Maybe it was poorly executed, but maybe that is what they're... So that makes more sense. Okay. That makes more sense. It's still a strange...
That's about all I know of Bollywood movies.
Okay.
It seems like they always have large dance numbers.
Yeah.
Almost like old American musicals. It's like suddenly everyone's dancing, choreographed.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
It is kind of neat, yeah. That's why I say that the flavor is an interesting one.
Yeah, okay.
It's almost like they're used to cooking with a lot of flavors.
Yeah.
They're like, why not make movies this way?
Got to make this strange pudding taste good somehow. That's how you know a culture is good, when all their food is just pudding. It's just different versions of pudding.
I do like their food.
I've never had Indian food before.
No?
Yeah. An Indian man offered me a job on my plane, on my flight to Salt Lake City.
Oh, yeah?
He tricked me.
Did you accept?
He said, no. He tricked me into accepting a job. This
no!
Indian man, he cast the spell on me, like in the Indian spell from his androgynous god. No, we were just talking, and he told me, I ordered an IPA on the plane, and he ordered an IPA, so I fist bumped him, and then he said something. Oh, you can say to customers this thing, what? And I was like, oh, cool. I was like, are you in sales? And he was like, not really, kinda. And I said, oh, are you like a sales engineer? And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, cool. I'm your counterpart. And he was like, oh, awesome, cool. And whatever. We started talking for a second, and I kind of revealed to him that I'm new and don't know a lot. And he said, yeah, I work at this company. Showed me huge IT company.
Yeah.
Big, one of the biggest in the country. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. Awesome. And we talked forever. And then afterwards, after we got off the plane, he gave me his card. He said, hey, if you ever want a job, give me a call. And I said, thank you.
Cool.
And I looked him up on LinkedIn to add him. And he was the president
of that company?
Of that company's entire sales engineer division. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was like, you tricked me, you told me you were a sales engineer, but you run all of them. You're like the top dog over there. So,
I invented sales engineering.
Be likable. Last episode. Be likable at all times. You never know when it's going to, you never know who you're talking to.
Yep.
But anyway, so this movie is just strange. And then the final sequence ends with him going back to the to the place where he went before and didn't succeed. And they just repeat the sequence, except now he's successful and he has an army of trannies with him.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And so the trannies kill Donald Trump, and it's just weird.
Some sort of leftist fantasy movie indoctrination
yeah,
technique.
Kind of. Yeah. But yeah, leftist piece of leftist propaganda, but told in Indian form. So it's so strange. It's very strange.
An odd conglomeration.
Yeah. So Monkey Man, don't recommend it. Don't watch that movie. It's not worth it. And I thought it was going to be cool because I like the guy that is I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm going to watch this. And at first I was like, oh, okay, this is all right. Throwaway movie, modern era, whatever. I like John Wick. And it just kept going downhill and getting worse and worse and worse.
Nope.
Yeah,
not John Wick.
Yeah, till the end of the movie, I was like, "This is literally unwatchable."
I'm only here because I need to drink water.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Did you ever see? I had a tie-in for this some reason. It was fight scenes. We were talking about those cool old fight scenes.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't martial arts necessarily. Well, it was like. Did you ever see the movie Equilibrium?
Yes.
Yeah,
Love that
Christian
movie.
Bale. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that has some really cool fight choreography.
Yes, it
but
does.
With what do they call them? The gun clerics.
I think it's gun kana is the fighting, the martial discipline they practice.
But what the actual fighters were called? Were they gun clerics?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think so.
Okay. Yeah. The clerics.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That final fight scene.
Like firing. Every fight can be predicted mathematically, and so they just study to.
Yeah.
So you're just firing blindly, and not blindly, but in mathematically predicted locations and dodging bullets by certain movements.
Right.
So you're unhittable almost when you're really good at it.
Extremely cool. The final fight scene's very cool. Good movie.
Is it when he's going down that hallway?
No, when he's fighting the final boss.
Oh, the final boss.
Yeah.
The sword fight?
And they're going at it with the... I think.
Oh, because they're like blocking each other.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Really good. Good. And he I think he has, there's like the opposing, he breaks off and goes and does his own thing, and then they send that other gun cleric after him, and then they meet at the
Played by Ty Diggs.
Is that
the
who
black
that is?
actor? Yeah.
Yeah, that's Ty
I've
Diggs.
only seen him in one other thing, which was a really good TV show called, I think, Daybreak or something.
Okay.
It was a Groundhog Day take on a detective who is like framed. He like wakes up wounded, like bleeding in his own bed, and doesn't know why.
Yeah.
But it keeps repeating until he solves the crime that
that's
he was
cool.
framed. He like wakes up almost just in time for have his home kicked in by the police.
Yeah.
And like he's arrested even though he's part of the police department. He's been framed for a crime.
Oh, very cool.
And so, yeah, I can't quite remember the name of it. I'd have to look up Ty Diggs.
Yeah.
But that was a fantastic like one season show.
Nice. Those are the best.
It was really cool.
The 1 and 2 season. Yeah, those are always the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but they finally meet and they're like gonna fight, and then Christian Bale's character just kills him easily. Isn't that what happens? Like
they sword fight.
They sword fight. Yeah, they sword. But doesn't Christian Bale like? They're like
he
they
may
have this
dispatch
whole,
him quickly.
They have this whole build up where it's just like, here we go. This guy's been hunting in the whole movie. He's Mr. I'm gonna kill him, like super bad, whatever. I'm really good at my job. And then Christian Bale and him fight, and Christian Bale just kills him easily. They have all that build. I love that. I think that's how that happens, and I love that.
Well, I know he kills him in a really. Remember, he just swipes upward, and
Right.
you're not sure what happened
And then
until
he
Ty Diggs falls
half.
down. No, his face slides off. He's sliced up, like basically just an inch into his face from the chin all the way up.
Okay.
And so Ty Diggs falls to his knees and kind of turns his head to the side, and then you see like one bead of blood come out, and then you see his face slide off. And you're like, oh my goodness,
that's crazy.
Yeah, we were not expecting that.
No.
But Christian Bale's already like walked past him, knowing that he killed him.
Right. Sick. They used to make movies so good, dude.
It was a good movie. It was almost kind of a lower budget movie, though.
Yeah, it was like one of those like B movie sci-fis.
Yeah, but really good.
Really, really good. Great.
Yeah.
Those movies are always the best.
There's a where they controlled the populace through mandatory like drug
Right.
that would suppress emotions. Everyone was emotionless and dressed in like shades of gray.
Right.
And very efficient.
Yeah.
No emotions were allowed. All art was destroyed. But of course, the leader had a humongous painting. You know, like,
and
he's like, I feel cleric.
I don't take the drugs. Yeah. Of course. But that's a good segue into the topic for today.
Bingo. From fight scenes to leadership.
Leadership on a broad.
How to rule.
And how do you rule, Jason? How do we do that?
Preferably not with an iron fist.
Yep, that's a good point. Not with an iron fist. You got to do it softly, gently. You have to. Obviously,
firmly.
Yeah, but firmly. You do have to hang people that need to be hung, which is something I advocate for a lot. We should start hanging people again in this country,
as Toby Keith and Willie Nelson say.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yep.
We'll raise up our glasses against evil forces, singing
Whiskey for my men,
beer for my horses.
Great song.
Great song.
Yeah, so leadership, and I think we want to talk about this kind of on a broad level. So, leadership as a leader of a country, leader of a company, leader of a team within a company, leader in your home, but just leadership in general. How do you do that? Because we are aware that some of you guys are younger, but you will step into leadership positions as the years go by. It'll happen quicker than you realize. So what do you do? And I think the conversation we were having that kind of led into this was we were talking about this concept of the Christian prince.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So, I guess we can start there. It's as good a place as any to start, and we'll see where the conversation
So what do you
takes
mean by
us.
the Christian prince? Why don't you flush that out?
Yeah.
What
So
is that term to you?
So my understanding is that there's actually, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to say that because I don't know that that's true, what I was about to say. So I'm not going to say it. But the Christian prince, as I understand it, is this concept tied to, the ruler. How do you rule? How do you keep how do you change a nation from pagan to Christian? How do you keep a Christian nation Christian? And the idea, as I understand it, is that you get, one guy or a group of magistrates who are very powerful in that they have most of the government answers, most, if not all, the government answers directly to them. They have pretty much they're king. They have unilateral ability to make decisions. And you want that guy to be a Christian. He's a Christian prince. He's the Christian magistrate. And then you force Christianity and its values on the people from the top down. That's the concept. And that you...
To what level are you forcing Christian values? Because you could say, go ahead.
Yeah.
In your understanding of the Christian prince, to what level are you? Are you forcing people to just say, like, are you enforcing murder? Are you hanging murderers and rapists?
Yeah.
And is that where it stops? Or are you also saying everyone needs to be attending church and one extracurricular Christian activity every week, or else you are in trouble and you could be thrown in prison? What level of control do you believe the Christian prince
I know that the people that
is advocating for?
The thing that I hear often that people that those people advocate for, the thing that I do that's practical that I hear all the time is blasphemy laws.
Okay.
So you're not allowed to say out loud that Jesus Christ is not the Son of God and the ruler of the world.
Okay. Gotcha. So that's a high crime.
That's a high crime.
Is that
you could be flogged for it or whatever?
Okay. So not necessarily executed, but you would be
right. You get in trouble. Yeah, you would not enjoy the consequences of doing something like that.
You would have a day in the stocks, as it were.
Which is, listen, as apprehensive as I am to agree with a rule like that, the argument for it isn't unreasonable, right? It's a reasonable argument, and the argument I would make for it, I wouldn't actually make this argument because I'm not sure that I think that that's a good idea. But if I was going to defend it, I think I would say something along the lines of, well, listen, you have religious freedom in this country. You can go into your church and worship whatever God you want to in there, but you can't come out into public, into the town square and say, Muhammad is a prophet just like Jesus was. He wasn't the Son of God. There isn't a triunity. There's only one God, and it's Allah. You can't come out in the public square in a Christian country and say that. You'll be arrested. And the thing I would say that is similar to, or that the reason why that makes sense is because you can have guns in this country. You can't just walk into the town square and just start firing it.
Right. There's limitations on.
Right.
Yeah.
In order to enter into a social contract with other people, you do have to compromise your freedoms in some way so that society can function.
Right.
And so
maybe I'll point out that it seems that it's inevitable that the leadership or the ruler of a country will choose something as its God.
Yes.
And so in order to have laws that make any kind of sense within a system, you have to have a moral backing for them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's changing constantly with whoever manages to get in power and has a preference.
Right.
If a murderer gets elected, someone forces his way in and goes, I don't think we should have murder be a crime anymore, and changes that law. Murder's, you can murder anybody. We don't care.
Right.
Just go ahead and do. That's a bit of an absurd example. But the point is that if you don't have a belief system, the point is that there will be a belief system that leads to the laws.
Right. Yeah, you're exactly correct.
So it's impossible. You can't choose an agnostic. You can't have an agnostic leadership for very long.
Secularism isn't possible.
Yes, you cannot have a completely non-objective.
Right. And that was the lie
rule.
we got told in the 50s and 60s and 70s, that we can do this in a secular, open way. That was told by people who wanted
coexist bumper sticker.
Right. That we were told that by people who wanted their religion to be in charge.
Which was hedonism.
Yeah, pagan hedonism. Yeah.
Well, it's fine because everyone will get what they want.
Well, depending on who you ask, it might be Jews, but that's neither here nor there. I don't think that, but I do think that they were participant. I think that it benefited them. But anyways, so this Christian prince, right? The idea here,
the Jews.
I'll work it in there when I can.
Should have had that in our intro recording this morning.
Maybe that's what I'll have my daughter say.
Duh Jews.
The Jews, yeah.
No, it's gotta be duh. Like
yeah.
duh bears. That's where that joke comes from.
Yeah, okay.
Duh bears.
Yeah.
Specifically off of Paul Rudd's line from I Love You, Man.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't
Have
know.
you seen the movie I Love You, Man?
Yeah. Several times, but I don't know the reference.
Pretty sure Paul Rudd at some point just goes, duh. He's been drinking, so he's kind of like, duh bears.
Oh, okay.
I think bears come up somehow, or the sports team, and he just goes, duh bears.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's why I say duh Jews.
Nice. You know what we're doing right now? We're straight up podcasting right now, dude.
This is podcasting. We are in a rabbit hole. You guys could probably just skip the last 15 minutes of what we were talking about. All right, dude, the Christian prince, we're back on it, baby. So I think the difference here between what maybe a system, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think one we would advocate for is that you're absolutely right, that blasphemy laws are going to exist. They're always going to exist. Just depends on what you're blaspheming.
Right.
What you are perceived to be blaspheming.
What is the God of your society?
Right.
Right. And
saying that gay couples shouldn't be able to adopt kids would be blasphemy in today's society.
Yeah, it would be blasphemy. The thing I would want to point out is that in the U.S. at least, that's still a social, that those blasphemy laws are not
in writing.
Yeah, enshrined into actual law.
Yeah, thankfully not yet.
Yeah, thankfully not yet. And I don't think they will be. I think all that stuff's over. I think they've lost power. Or they haven't lost power yet, but they're dead man walking, whatever, whole in the topic. But certainly in Europe, there are actually enshrined blasphemy laws. A man was just arrested for praying outside.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he just bowed his head and he just had his head bowed and his eyes closed and his hands crossed.
Really?
And somebody walked up to him and said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Praying." And they went, "To who?" And he was like, "God." And they're like, "Which one?" And he said the Christian one.
He said
so
the
he got
only
arrested.
one?
Yeah, the only one.
Whoops.
He said the Christian one, so he was arrested.
Well,
and he said
bless
Muhammad.
That brother.
Yeah, bless that brother for sure. Had he said Muhammad, he definitely wouldn't have been arrested. But not Muhammad, Allah, whatever. Who cares? None of it's real, anyways. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I guess whatever. Allah is a sand demon, just some sand demon in the desert who talked to Muhammad, whatever.
Oh,
same thing happened to John Smith or whatever, the Mormon guy, some eldritch forest demon.
I think he was high.
Whatever he was definitely communicating with some creature of the forest that wanted to pull Christians away. And it's still there, bro. It's still in Utah. You can tell. I texted you Remember that on Monday night I texted you. I was like, I'm in enemy territory right now, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can feel it. There's whatever entity convinced him that he was talking to God is definitely still there, and definitely it still has sway over the hearts and minds of many of the people there. It seems to be fine to let people not.
It's a dark spot on the spiritual coverage map of the U.S.
Yeah. It seems to be fine to let people. I would imagine it doesn't care if you're Mormon or transgender. It just doesn't want you being Christian. So
right. Okay, which is why, because I was surprised when you said there were trannies everywhere.
Right.
I was like, in Utah?
Yeah.
But that would make sense if it's like its end goal is just not God.
Right, not God. Yeah, so it doesn't care. So just whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Great punk bars though. Too bad punk is over. It sucks. Really, really sucks. But the Christian Prince, we're gonna get through this, dude. We're gonna do it. The Christian Prince, I think, is the idea that you're gonna, from the top down, enforce Christian values and Christian blasphemy laws, where I think you and I would say these things have to come from the bottom up.
I gotcha.
Like it has to be the people who change, really. And that's kind of what we're talking about here is leadership. How do you change people?
I guess I would say that I suppose you could have, I could see the masses are the masses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you got a strong enough Christian contingent that was bent on getting power, and we could argue whether or not how they take, there's a lot of different ways they could take power.
Yeah.
But if it was not the majority opinion, likely it would be by force in some way.
Yeah.
And then I haven't done enough meditation on how exactly they could go about doing that would be in a God glorifying way.
Right.
Is this what God really wants you to do, which is to take power by force? It's not what Jesus did in Rome.
Right. Right.
Or to Rome. It was changing the masses' hearts, and Christians have very much been the underdogs for most or all of history.
Yeah, we've got a brief few 100-year run at this point.
Western civilization has spread and prospered under this.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I guess there's argument to be made. I don't know my history well enough, but it seems to me that it's, in part at least, a grassroots movement. It's a changing of the hearts and minds through the spread of the gospel.
Yeah.
But it's also God acting through lots of different people. So both the grassroots movements and also through leadership, godly leaders influencing in a certain way.
Yeah. 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 And I think one of the things that's important to note here, so, I mean, how to make this solid. I was watching a podcast, and it was between a pastor and an academic, who have a podcast together. I'm not going to name them because I don't, I have no interest in having conflict with brothers.
Okay.
So I don't want to be like, well, they're stupid and whatever. Yeah. But they were talking about a king who got saved and went back to his kingdom, and this is a historical event. This actually occurred, and they basically were saying that he got saved, he came back to his kingdom, and just forced Christianity on his people, and they were saying it worked then, it'll work now. This is what we need to do. We need to either by sword or by, political force or whatever. I don't think they were advocating for by the sword. But they were just saying forcefully.
So more, not forcefully, but maybe purposefully being a better word, because forcefully does bring about the sword.
Right. Yeah.
Gun.
I mean, that's kind of what that is the problem with what they're saying. And one of the problems that I think happens. So again, I like dorks. Before I say anything, I like dorks. Most of my friends are dorks. I work with dorks. I sell to them all day. I like them. One of the things, jocks can get I've got all kinds of predispositions that I can fall sinful predispositions that I can fall victim to, right? So do dorks. One of the things that dorks can fall victim to is getting in their own head and acting in asocial ways and not being able to empathize with other people around them and communicate in actually effective ways. And sometimes they cannot think through stuff all the way and not understand the implications of what they're talking about. And now that's kind of everybody can do that, can make that mistake, but
sure. Looks good on paper.
Yeah. Looks good on
and
paper.
You're like, well, how do we enact this?
Right.
I guess we get guns.
Yeah. And so that is what I'm saying is that
what do you mean by force?
Yeah. Is that they start talking about force or whatever, and maybe they're not advocating for the sword, or they're saying they're not, but it's like, dude, that's what political power is.
It's one thing to say you're not allowed to have any churches except Christian churches, but then you have to go, well, if someone just builds a mosque,
right?
What do? You just deny permits, or are you starting to go kick down doors where you think there's house churches,
right?
Like China does to Christian homes.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, the rubber meets the road somewhere, and when that happens, if
you need to have a biblically defensible reason for doing whatever you're doing.
Right. Political power. When the rubber meets the road, political power becomes violence. That's what it is. So, anyways, these guys are saying
the magistrate does not bear the sword in vain.
Right. Yeah. And so these guys are saying that we should basically do what this king did. Okay. Force Christianity down everyone's throat.
Okay.
Now, should we do that? Whatever.
Did they flush out how this rubber would meet the road? How?
Well, no, they don't. That's another thing.
That's the problem.
That's another thing that happens is when
they just don't.
You start speaking philosophically, whatever. You
It's
get pie in the
abstract.
sky. Yeah, it stays
too
very
abstract.
Yeah. And so you're not even accountable at this point for your own ideas, kind of.
Because somebody could take them and create a tyranny.
Sure.
It's not at all Christian-like.
Right. And so here's the problem with that. I don't care. This is me going fighting against the dork thing. I don't care what the books told you, how the book said that he did it, that the king showed up and forced Christian. I don't care what history says about how he did it. I know it said he nobly showed up in armor and beheaded one of the pagan lords in the area and just said, you're all Christian now, and that's how it's going to be. I know it said that that's how he did it, but that isn't how it actually happened. Okay? I'm sorry. It's just not. That's not how people work. Okay? He showed up. He went he showed up. Maybe he did behead one of the pagans. All right? Maybe he did. And good for him. Maybe he should have.
I think that's totally believable.
Yeah, I think that's totally believable. You probably should cut a couple pagan heads off every now and then. But right after he did that, he turned to all the people and went, hey guys, you know how we're having these problems in our country? And everyone went, yes. And he went, okay, this is the solution.
Is this your account, or
this is my account?
This is not the book account.
Yeah, this is not the book account. The book account is this and this is what I'm saying with the dork thing. Like sometimes there can be a separation, disconnect between reality and how you actually have to interact with people and what you think in your head is going to play out. And so the king showed up and sold Christianity to his people. Okay. That's how it had to happen. All right. I'm sorry that this idea that you're going to have a magistrate who's all powerful and he's in charge. So he'll be allowed to do the things that must be done. He'll have a strong will and he'll end abortion. That's just it's not reality. That's never happened in history. And the times when people tried, they were dragged out of their palace and beaten to death by the mob. And that's just true. I'm sorry. I don't care about your whatever little, in history, emperor, whatever, he did this, whatever. No, he didn't. Okay. Reference whatever you want. I don't care. That's not how it happened. He absolutely was beholden to the whims of the masses because they are the masses. And Jason even has a fantastic illustration from Bug's Life that you could go into.
Thank you, Pixar.
Yeah.
So this is why Bug's Life and other of their good films are so enduring, and why they are beloved not only by kids but by adults as well, because they were well written and they're intelligent. in the movie Bug's Life, there's the main villain is Hopper, who's a grasshopper who leads kind of a biker gang of grasshoppers, playing off of the ant and the grasshopper fairy tale or moral tale of how the grasshopper played all summer and the ant worked hard and collected food, and when it was cold and there was no food around, then the grasshopper begged for food from the ant, and the ant was like, well, tough luck, you shouldn't have played all summer, and the grasshopper pretty much starves to death.
Damn. Okay.
So I think that's where this tale comes from, what they wrote this out of, I'm sure. Basically Hopper and his gang are like, there's like maybe 20 of them, and it's a whole ant colony that they've subjugated. The ants are required to collect food all summer for them so that the grasshoppers don't actually have to do any work.
Right.
They're a gang. They're a mob. They come and collect like protection money, so that there's that element to it too. It's very much a protection money, and Hopper outright says it.
Yeah.
Because there's larger bugs out there who could take advantage of you, and we can't provide protection for you if you don't give us the food,
Uh-huh.
But then the one ant, the weirdo in the colony, who's the inventor and the free thinker, the entrepreneur and the inventor, his name is Flick, and all the ants hate him because he's always getting in the way. Half of his things don't work, but because he doesn't just get in line and do what he's told like everybody else. But he's also the only one to stand up to Hopper, even though he is no match for Hopper one-on-one, and says that, grasshoppers don't, rule ants. Ants, we give you all your food, basically. He calls out Hopper, and Hopper puts him down in that time. He doesn't kill him, but he does beat him up.
Yeah.
And threatens the rest of the ants, and then they leave. And then later on in the movie, all the grasshoppers are like in Tijuana, basically.
Yeah. At the bar.
They're at the bar,
Yeah.
drinking and eating seeds and whatnot.
Yeah.
And the grasshoppers, some of his gang, are getting the idea that, hey, maybe they should stick around at this place instead of flying all the way back there. Such a hassle to go and mess with all these ants. The ants aren't gonna, they're puny little ants.
What are they
Whatever.
gonna do?
What are they gonna do?
Right.
So Hopper comes over to these two guys when he gets wind of their plan, when they want to stay there, and he pulls like one seed. There's this giant bottle full of seeds or grains.
Yeah.
Of seeds at the bar that has like a little flapper handle on it. So he pulls one of them out and he throws it at the chest of one of the grasshopper. He goes, "Did that hurt?" And the guy's like, "No." And he's like, "Okay, how about this one?" "No, are you kidding? That didn't hurt." He goes, "All right, how about this?" And he pulls the whole stopper off of it and just buries the two grasshoppers, pretty insinuating that he killed them.
Right.
He buries them with the whole bottle's worth of seeds there. And then he turns to the rest of the gang, is like, "We're going back to Ant Island because, that one ant stood up to me, and if he thinks, if he leads them to believe, or if they realize that they can stand up to us, if they ever figure out that they outnumber us 100-1, our way of life is over."
Right.
Hopper is smart, and Hopper knows that as a leader, he needs to subjugate them.
Right.
In some way. His way is through fear, right? So that's his form of leadership, which is very unstable.
Right.
Still a form of leadership.
Yeah, still a form of leadership. Not sustainable.
Not one not sustainable, as the movie evidences.
Yeah.
The masses do rise.
Right.
And he gets fed to a bird eventually.
Yeah.
Not fed to one. He gets picked off by one providentially, we'll say.
Yes, yeah. That's true. Hey, that's a good point.
He meets a very providential end for the evildoer. But the point I'm ultimately trying to make. Where did this even tie into?
It was that
took a long time describing Bug's Life to people who have probably all seen it.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking that.
I was thinking.
Who
is he explaining this for?
Yeah.
Nobody.
We've got young people that listen to this. Maybe they haven't seen it.
Maybe they haven't.
Yeah.
Well, if they haven't, go out and watch Bug's Life.
Yeah, it's a great.
I don't
movie.
care if the animation isn't up to modern standards.
It looks great.
It's tremendously better.
Yeah. It's really good. Really good.
Very rewatchable.
Yeah, very watchable. Even as an adult.
And hilarious.
Yeah. Very
good humor.
Yes, very good. Oh, I ate the worm, Or the caterpillar.
The caterpillar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, he's so funny. Dude.
Yeah.
Caterpillar's so
I'm a
funny.
beautiful butterfly.
And at the end, when he gets
When he gets his wings and they're too small to actually lift him
Yeah.
because he's so fat.
That's awesome, dude. It's so
Look
good.
at me, I'm a beautiful butterfly.
Dude, making him Swedish or whatever that accent is so good. So good. Anyway, man, stuff used to be so good. We used to make such good entertainment.
Yeah.
We will again.
Yeah,
I
it'll come
will
back
do
around.
it. Yeah, hyper premium.
Yeah, stick with us. Hyper Premium's going to go places.
Yeah, 10 years we'll be doing animation.
So excited for that.
Yeah, me too. We'll start with comic books and go animation. It's just, dude, high quality animation is like $100,000 a minute.
I'm sure.
It's crazy.
Doesn't have to be high quality.
Yeah.
Pixar.
I don't know. I want to make stuff that's good. You know, I want to make like old 90s like hand drawn stuff.
Oh, well, that would be sweet.
Yeah. So the thing, where does that tie in? It ties in to the fact that Hopper is afraid of the masses.
Yes.
He's still subject to the masses, and he just has.
He can't rule forever. He
Right.
can only rule as long as he effectively puts down resistance when it arises.
Right.
So
And-
he's constantly on guard.
Right.
Constantly. Just like the mob was constant, like any mob movie. Maybe I shouldn't be referencing fictional movies, but they're based on the reality of the mob.
Right. They're telling a
which is
story
that-
that's relatable to us because it's based in reality to some extent.
Right.
Right.
And real stories of the mob and how they operate. Like, you can't have store owners standing up to you.
Right.
You got to send the guy with the enforcer has to go out with a baseball bat occasionally and bust some kneecaps.
Right.
To make sure that none of the other storekeepers stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
Until it builds such a pressure mass and you've oppressed them too much that they do explode and they don't care if a few of them die.
Right. Yeah. So how does this tie in? What I'm saying, the point that I was ultimately trying to make
Oh, that
was,
one.
yes, was that it doesn't matter if it's through voting or through violence. Every leader is ultimately subject to the masses
Because they don't outnumber them.
Yeah, because they don't outnumber them, and I'm sorry, that's just the way that it is. And so
they're dependent on their military or police force,
Right, and
being loyal to them. So they have to, and how do they do that? Probably not through fear for them. It's probably through benefits.
Right, exactly. So how are you going to, whatever. We could keep digging into that, but it's neither here nor there. We made the point. So you cannot, I'm sorry, you just cannot come in and just wave your sword or gun around and just unilaterally decide it. Like you might for a time, for 20 years, 30 years, you might be able to white knuckle the population and force them into something that looks like a Christian nation, but that it will.
But if in that amount of time you did not also work on their hearts and change
them,
yes,
right,
then they're not going to be changed.
right, they're not going to be changed, and you achieved nothing, and you were murdered.
If all they see in you is tyranny,
right,
and not actually Christian values,
yeah, then you're going to alienate them further
Right.
from Christianity.
yeah, you are then, which is far worse because it has eternal consequences.
Right,
You're
exactly.
driving people into Satan's camp
Yeah, and
by
so
being a bad witness.
yeah, one of the things that we've established in this country, which people seem to have forgotten, is, at least the guys that argue this way, is that voting is not ultimately voting it has nothing to do with self-governance and people, being strong and free and being able to decide how their government operates. That's not what voting is for. Voting is to stop the cycle of violence that exists if you don't have voting.
Because otherwise,
Yeah,
the French
otherwise,
Revolution would happen.
right. Otherwise, the only way to get one person out of power and put a new person into power is to kill him. Is to fight his army with your army and instill your guy. So that's what voting is. Voting is just a way to stop men from killing each other, and I think that that's good. Sorry. So
This coming from a fighter.
yeah, this is coming from a fighter. Yeah, somebody who fights often. I think it's really good to have that. So, yeah, this idea of like unilateral control from the top down is retarded, and also it's not biblical because it's obviously unilateral control from the top down from God, but that he extends that authority through leadership at his will and at his whim, and these organizations or these people that are that have the authority granted to them by God, they don't get to practice that authority the same way God gets to practice his authority. It's just not how it works. And I can tell you that right now because God, the scripture is very clear that the punishment for a nation that is corrupted is corrupt leaders, is bad leaders. So the Bible is very clear that a corrupt people will not get a good leader. They won't.
Right.
Their punishment
because the leader came from the people.
Right. The leader came from the people, and their punishment.
Corrupt people. Look at our leaders now.
Right. And
it's from a corrupt people.
We deserve them.
Oh yeah.
We deserve these leaders. So
let's work together. Let's work hard at getting leaders that are more godly.
Right.
And that starts with us in communities. That's why we push building Christian communities.
Right.
Do what they are doing in Moscow.
Right.
Build a Christian community. The people in Moscow are not bashing in windows of other people. They are wiping spit off of their own windows because the pagan populace there hates them.
Yeah.
Because they're Christians.
Right.
They're building Christian businesses, and they are living as Christians in their community. They are tying themselves strongly together, and those are the things that are very admirable about the Moscow mood.
Yeah.
And so I know there's that's a hot topic, Moscow mood.
Yep.
And so we can go on about exactly how you interact with other people and yada, yada, yada. But your own community can have the flavor, what you believe is a Christian flavor. So study the Bible, create bonds with other believers, and tie yourselves together.
Right.
Produce food for one another, use each other's businesses as exclusively as you can, support one another. Have a, what is the guy who, he was like a California tech guy who broke off and started, what is that? It was like a Christian version of Facebook or a conservative version of Facebook.
I don't know.
Oh,
there's been a couple of those.
Anyway, but he a parallel economy is what he was talking about.
Oh, Gab.
Yes, Gab. Sorry.
Andrew Torba.
Andrew Torba was attempting to create a parallel economy.
Yeah.
So he's saying we have a pagan economy now.
Right.
So Christians need to support Christians.
Right.
You have a choice of who to go to bake your cakes and whatnot. Yeah. You're smiling. What is
Andrew Torba goes so hard on Jews.
Does he?
Yeah, dude, he's so hard, dude.
The Jews. Anyway, I've read his emails occasionally. I think I've made a Gab account and never used it.
He goes real hard on Twitter.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So I'm not advocating for everything that Andrew Torba says. I'm just talking about the parallel economy, about building strong, small local communities that will eventually grow.
Yeah.
So if we have the, kind of the strong pockets all over the United States will eventually grow and become larger.
Right.
And influence the society around them. They will be, what do you know, salt to the economy.
Yeah.
You only need a little bit of salt. You only need a little bit of leaven to leaven the whole lump.
Yeah.
So leaven is strong. You only need a tiny bit to leaven a whole lump of dough.
Yeah.
So you only need a small, strong Christian community in order to spread throughout. The gospel is the most powerful thing in the world, the most powerful, not even an idea, the most powerful reality that there is. And if you allow that to actually grow and you nourish it and spread it, we are going to have a Christian nation again.
Yeah.
It's up to you, listeners, here in the United States, and also you one Belgian guy.
3.
We have 3 Belgian guys now?
Yeah.
Well, hey, 3 Belgian guys.
Yeah, 3 Belgian guys, probably 1 in the UK by our numbers.
Oh, I thought it was the other way around. I thought it was 3 UK guys.
Oh,
one
yeah,
Belgian
you know
guy.
what? You're right. That is
okay.
What it is.
One
That
Belgian
is
guy.
You're right.
Dude, if you're our Belgian guy, love to get an email from you. Like, what are you getting out of this podcast? What is Belgium like?
Yeah, for real.
What's going on in Belgium? I'm very curious to know. So please email us at
workhard@hyperpremium.co. Please do email us, brother.
We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, we do actually.
Why are you
want to talk to
listening? What's going on in your country?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, we will. We will.
And the UK too. That's a dark place.
Yeah,
spiritually a
that's
dark
crazy.
place. I'm sorry, brothers.
I'm surprised you can get this podcast there.
Are you allowed to listen?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine you probably, if this ever gained popularity, it probably won't
You
be.
get banned.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, they'll have to go back to pirate radio like they did.
Yeah, they will.
Somebody will have to get out on a fishing boat and
In
transmit.
international waters. Yeah.
Just transmit into the.
Yeah.
There will be ways.
There
they
will
can
be ways.
They can listen in North Korea to like pirate radio.
Yeah. they
South
can.
Koreans have Christian radio stations
That
that are like
broadcast
broadcast on, I don't know, shortwave. I'm not sure how it all works, but they're able to pick it up.
Yep. Yeah. So here's I think here's kind of the thing. Here's the baseline thing. I'm interested in actually getting this thing done. To me,
Getting this thing done mean Christian nation?
reformation of the country.
Okay.
The return of
And
America.
I don't know,
to
maybe the
its-
world.
Yeah, maybe the world.
Yeah, maybe the world.
Maybe the
Yeah,
world. But at least,
We're here.
one bite at a time.
We're
How do you
here.
eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah, and
Let's
right now
start
we're
with
starting
America.
with our church.
Yeah, we're starting with our church.
Our town.
Our town.
Our town.
And our state.
And you
then-
all start with your towns. You're
Right.
around everywhere else.
Right, county before country, all that stuff.
Yeah. Start local and expand.
Yeah, but I'm interested in getting this thing done really. To me, this Christian Prince thing.
Without a militia group.
Yeah, without a
Marching
militia
into
group.
Washington.
Yeah. This Christian Prince thing is LARPing to me. That's what this is. It's just fantasy in your head. You might as well just go play Magic the Gathering or D&D, whatever. It's the same thing. Just go make a live action
so
role.
fun though.
It does sound right. It's fun. That's why they're doing it. It's like fake Dominion. It's like video games. It's distracting.
Yeah.
I'm interested in actually getting this thing done, and what that means is that the Reformation, the new Reformation, the new revival is going to come from the ground up. You are going to have to change the hearts of the people, really. And you cannot do that from the top down. You have to do exactly what Jason says, which is build these communities. Be leaven. Be leaven. Go to church. Be a good person. Communicate with people. I'm very open about my faith. Very open. I talk about it to people who didn't ask. Now, I'm very good at talking, right? Don't want to sound, I get it sounds very facetious to say that, but I do it for a living.
Facetious means sarcastic.
Is that what I thought facetious? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, good. Thank you for that. Thanks, Jason.
So he's not being facetious
I'm
when
not
he's saying
being
he's good at.
facetious. It sounds.
You
sounds
would be facetious if you said, I'm not good at talking.
Right.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, but I know it sounds braggadocious. Whatever.
Braggadocious, bro.
Yeah.
Braggadocious.
Jason and I are about to get a fight.
That's a great word.
Braggadocious. I thought you were ribbing me, so that's what I'm saying. You and I are about to get in a fight.
Braggadocious? I
No,
don't think
when
that's
you
a word.
no, never mind.
Anyway,
All right,
I thought it was
anyways.
fun.
Yeah, braggadocious. Let's go with that word. It sounds like I'm bragging. I'm not. I promise. I talk for a living at a high level. All right, in my career, I'm like in the top 25% of those people. So I know how to talk. Why was I saying that?
Good question. I gave you too much ribbing.
I know. All right, hold on. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. I remember what I was going to say. I was saying, when I talk to people about my faith openly who don't ask about it, I do it in a way that is actually effective. Like it actually,
You don't go up and go, have you heard of the message? of
right,
Jesus
exactly.
Christ?"
Yeah. Do you know about our Lord and Savior? No, I don't do that. I talk normally to people about it. I'm wearing my glasses. I just got, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm getting distracted. I'll give you a solid example. One time at a team meeting, it was Easter weekend, and my boss was like, she was a woman, so she always, at the end of every meeting, we had to do this thing where it's like, what are you thankful for? And I said, I'm thankful for this weekend. My faith is very important to me, so this is a big weekend. I'm a Christian, so this is a big weekend, and so I'm just thankful for this holiday weekend, for my family, for what the holiday represents, and all that stuff. And I just said that, and it totally converted the entire mood of the meeting. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, well I'm Catholic." Like everyone got on this like
Jumped on board.
Yeah, well, hey, yeah, me too. And so that's that's practically what we're talking about here, is that for a moment, everyone had this working in their heart where they went, oh, well, hey, me too. I want to be a part of this. And that's what Jason's talking about here when he says build these communities, be leaven, is just be Christian publicly. Just go out with your family, and people will be like, wow, like I want that. I want like this guy seems very calm. Like one thing that people are desperate for right now is peace.
Yeah, we've talked about that. The whole microdosing thing,
Yeah.
people being on drugs, medications to keep them calm. You're medicating yourself into calmness.
Right.
Sounds like equilibrium.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Sounds like equilibrium. Sounds like we're already there.
Got to be on drugs.
Yeah. And so, if people realize that you're a relatively anxiety-free, relaxed individual, they will have one too many beers at the after party, after the office, and they will be like, dude, what's going on with you? And you can go, I have a very strong faith in, I think the creator of the universe is in control of everything. And they'll go, what? What does that mean? Yeah. And then you get to witness to them.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of nominal Christians out there who will be very open to hearing what you have to say, and maybe you'll rekindle an old flame, or
right, something they learned as a child but fell away from.
Yeah. And so
they'll go, wait a minute, that's something I'd forgotten.
Yeah. So
for whatever reason in the church kind of drove me away through, poor witness or ineffectiveness of the word being taught, watered down. They're on a diet of milk.
Right. And so, I mean, really, what are we saying here? Why is what we're saying relevant to leadership? If you're a leader, you have to sell, okay? You have to sell your ideas to the people you're leading. That is one of the key aspects of leadership. You do not get to just unilaterally force things down people's throat. You will not get followers that way. You will not get people to back you in the way that you think they are. You can rule at best out of fear that way, and that's never sustainable. If you want to truly change the hearts and minds of people, you want to get them behind you, you want to actually lead them, you have to sell. And selling starts with empathy. Selling, and I know that's people don't like that word right now amongst our population because empathy has been used as a weapon against us for so long. But you do have to put yourself in their shoes, because you need to know on a practical level, just this is Machiavellian even. This is, if you want to get the ruthless Christianity with a chest, I'll get you the Machiavellian version of this. If you want to sell something to somebody, you have to know what's important to them. Where in their life are they feeling pain, and how does the thing you're selling them solve that pain? How does it give them peace? That's what you have to do. That's selling 101. That's the fundamentals of selling. And so you have to be able to put yourself in their shoes to understand why they're hurting. And once you do that, you can pitch what you're talking about to that pain, to those issues. You can put Christianity forth and say, listen, I understand you're twice divorced. You have maybe multiple kids across multiple women. You don't get to see your family. I know you're miserable. I can see it in your face.
Yeah.
I'm not miserable. I want you to know that it's not normal. And hey, let me say this right now to just young people. It is not normal to just exist in constant anxiety. It's not. And I don't think you do. Do you?
It's normal outside of the peace of Christ.
Right. Sure. Yes. But I'm saying
it's not how we are meant to live.
Yeah. It's not how you're meant to live.
Meant to.
Yeah. And what I'm saying is that
but it's the normal state of the unconverted.
Right. And I don't, moment to moment, I experience like pretty profound peace. I very rarely feel anxious, very rarely get stressed out. And when I do, on a fundamental level, still below that, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
It's transient.
Yeah, it's transient.
It's not the baseline.
Yeah, and so you don't have to feel the way you feel. And so you can hit people with that, but you can't hit them with that if you are going to try to come in and unilaterally force something on them that you have not communicated to them. You haven't communicated to them why this thing is going to be effective for them, what it's going to change, what it's going to do. one of the things that really grinds my gears that I see online a lot is the abolitionists when it comes to abortion. So the abolitionists right now are saying they're not going to vote for Donald Trump because he would allow abortion at all.
Oh, gotcha. Right. The difference between the abolitionists and the was the incrementalists?
Yeah, incrementalists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are willing to take ground wherever they can.
Right. The difference
on the way to abolition.
Abolition, right. The difference between incrementalists and abolitionists in any field is that incrementalists actually achieve the goal.
Yeah, it just takes time.
Yeah, it just takes time.
And
Abolitionists,
and it's not forceful.
Yeah, just stand there and scream at everyone and get nothing done. So while abolitionists are standing on a high ground and going, well, by the way, that's what it is. It's virtue signaling. It's just moral, that you want to take a moral stance. I'm so pure, I would never vote for a guy who would allow any form of abortion. Where it's like someone like myself who thinks that it's, I am appreciative of what Donald Trump has done to get rid of abortion in this country by instilling justices that overturn Roe v. Wade.
And why did he do that? Was it because of his own personal convictions?
Yeah, no, he's not Christian.
No, it's because that's what his base wanted him to do.
Right.
That's the reason he got into office in the first place, and he, for some reason, actually kept promises.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Which cannot be said for very many politicians.
They cannot. And so
I have plenty of gripes with Donald Trump, but
that's not one of them.
The man kept his word on that.
Yeah.
Enough to flip my vote. I didn't vote from the first time around because I had plenty of doubts, and he was off-putting.
Yeah.
The second time I did.
Yeah. And so
and I will this time.
Yeah, and I will this time too. And so that's what I'm talking about, is that I'm interested in actually getting things done.
Well, he's a businessman is the other thing. So he understands.
This is what I'm talking. He's a salesman.
He's a salesman. And the reason they changed their base from the abolitionist side to the incrementalist kind of thing is because he can make more friends that way and get actually into office.
Right. Get actually into office and then actually get things done and actually save babies. Okay.
Which, again, not his goal. He probably doesn't care.
He might care. He might care a little bit.
That's true. Yeah, I shouldn't say that to him. That's slanderous. I don't know his heart.
Yeah.
He may personally loathe it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he does. Yeah, maybe he does. Maybe he does personally loathe it.
Maybe it was anxiety producing for him to even change that base because he knew how alienating it would be to many minorities.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's what I'm talking about it here is these hard lines. If you take hard lines like this, you will get nowhere. You will get nowhere. You have to do this incrementally. You have to do it on a one-on-one level. You have to empathize with people, get on their side so that you can get so that you can get them on your side. I'll tell you something right now about human nature. You cannot change the mind of someone who believes that they cannot change your mind. It's not possible. If they do not feel like there is a reciprocal exchange occurring between the two of you, then
like if there's a gun to their head.
Right, exactly. And it's one of the things I do all the time with people. All the time. I signal to them that I care about them and I trust them by allowing them to change my mind. I do it all the time on purpose. All the time. I've done it with you. I've done it with Chris. I've done it with all the time. I signal, you're important to me and I trust you and I respect you. I think you're smart. So when you say something to me that is a good point, I am going to go, okay, maybe I do have to rethink this. And what that does is it establishes a relationship that is a feedback loop where now all of a sudden your ideas start to influence them. Mm-hmm. And it changes their minds. And then what you do is it ends up creating this kind of meeting in the middle and that's where the truth is found, is in the middle.
The middle class.
Yeah. Balance
is where it's at.
So anyways, that's the leadership spiel, I guess, because we're at an hour, so we can wrap it up. The leadership spiel is this. If you want to really be a leader, you have to sell. And that means that you have to put yourself, you shouldn't, I want to be careful with this. It's fine to be angry with trans people. Okay. It's fine to do that. You shouldn't hate the person themselves, right? The Bible's very clear about that. Don't hate the sinner, hate the sin. My heart hurts. I can't think about trannies too long or homosexuals for too long.
Yep.
Because I will get very upset. I'll cry. They must be in so much pain.
I worked with a guy one of my EMTs,
Yeah.
one of my favorite ones,
Yeah.
he and I had some debates. He was like an ex-evangelical, but he was also trans. He hadn't done anything physically to himself, but he would go periods where he said he would dress up in drag and makeup and the whole bit and get into that community. And then he said there would always be a moment where he'd be looking at himself in the mirror in all of that and be like, realize how it would strike him how hideous or just ridiculous it looked. So he was a very cerebral, very intelligent, thought out guy. So he knew that it wasn't right, or it wasn't true. He knew he could never actually be a woman.
Right.
And he attributed this to psychological damage from his mother. That's where he attributed this behavior came out of. So it was out of trauma.
Right.
It wasn't out of a natural, like, oh, it's just born this way, you know?
Right.
There was trauma behind it, which I think if you dug deeply enough and if people were honest enough about it, there'd be trauma.
That's where it all comes from.
There was a woman also at my work who was married, got divorced, and then was with a gal.
Yeah.
It's like, show me a lesbian who wasn't hurt by a man.
Right.
Show me one.
Show me one. Yeah.
Show me one.
Show me one.
Who
yeah.
isn't with women only because they won't hurt them in the same way men did.
Yeah. I realized in college, especially because in college, I got exposed to a lot more gay guys than I had, growing up out here. I realized in college that I had none of the gay people that I had ever spoken to and said, you have to say it the way they want you to say it in order to get them to answer the question. So, when did you realize you're gay? That's you have to ask it, not when did you decide you're gay? Because if you say that, then you'll start a debate about whether.
I got you. Deciding.
So if you want the answer for real, you have to ask it. And
realize.
This is kind of what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
You got to sell. Okay. I realized that if you ask a gay person, when did you realize you were gay? They'll tell you about when they were molested. Every single time. They don't think that that's what happened because they think they liked it.
Oh.
But every single time they will tell you about when they were molested without fail. That's just the way that it is. So these people are in intense pain.
Pity them.
Yes.
And love them as a Christian would love them by witnessing to them as best you can, showing the love of Christ and not sitting on a high horse telling them they shouldn't be gay.
Right. And
they shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be gay. But also
you shouldn't look at porn.
Yeah, you shouldn't look at porn.
You shouldn't masturbate.
Yeah.
You shouldn't look at that woman.
Right.
The way you're looking at her.
It's the same thing. It's the same sin.
Lust, it's sin. So we're on maybe more even playing ground.
Right. Then you may
humble yourself a little bit and realize that you are not as perfect up on your high horse as you think you are.
Yeah. And I'll say this last thing just and then we'll wrap it up, just because I do want to extend an olive branch to our listeners who maybe take a harder line. Jason and I are not saying that you need to love them and affirm and go to their weddings.
Affirming is not the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Affirming is, we're absolutely never affirm.
Yeah, it is not loving to affirm someone's sin. That's not loving them. If you get invited to a gay wedding, you are obligated as a Christian to say no. When you do that, you should communicate, hey man, I love you. You need to understand that because I love you, I think what you're doing is hurting you. And so you shouldn't be doing this, right? It's not loving to let your kid eat too much
my
ice cream.
attendance would be
damaging to you.
Well, my attendance would be signaling to you that I approve of this.
Right. Which is damaging.
So I'm not going to attend it.
Right. And so you don't, no affirmations. We're not saying that. It is loving. It is an act of love. I can even see somebody making the argument that it is an act of love to make it illegal for them to be able to do that. Right. And I may very well get behind that law. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do that, but
topic for another podcast.
So we'll give that olive branch to people. We're not saying you need to, be kissing guys yourself or whatever, but,
don't go Michael Scott on Diversity Day.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Anyways, there we go. Episode 53, I believe. We love you very much. Thank you for listening.
We're praying for you.
We are praying for you.
Go to church. Build community. Find a good girl if you don't have one yet. Marry her and have some babies.
Yes. And sell the message of the Lord. Sell it.
Amen.
Get out there. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.